Hello viewers, welcome to our program on Immigration and You. I am your immigration attorney Michael Fulwani, and once again we have with us attorney David Nachman, my partner.
Morning, Michael. How are you doing?
Thank you. And today's program, I think we have some important pieces of information that will be very valuable, very helpful to you in understanding. And David will give more details, but briefly speaking, some change in the I-9 issuances, and then reminder about the Selective Service program, and a couple of other items that we can both discuss. So why don't you start with what is the change on I-9? First of all, I-9 is a form. Remember, when you are coming to US on a student, visitor, any visa, non-immigrant visa, then the airline hostesses give you fill up a form, which is I-9.
I-94.
I-94, I'm sorry,
Yes, sir.
I-94. And that is the form you fill up, and at the port of entry, the officer, CBP officer stamps it and puts the date of arrival and the validity.
Correct.
And that has been, ever since I came to this country, there's always been the I-94, and now there is a change.
That's right.
What is the change?
Well, Michael, before we talk about the change, I think it's important, since we're discussing arrivals, to let everyone know that the holidays are arriving. And what we'd like to do is we'd like to wish all of our viewers a Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, and any other holiday that you're celebrating. We wish you a very, very nice one. Spend some time with the family, relax, and of course, we're coming up on the New Year. Start to make some New Year's plans. Obviously, some of the New Year's resolutions that many of our clients have is to do something in the immigration area, and we, of course, would encourage you to think about that.
And this is a good time for me to wish you also a happy Hanukkah to you and your family.
Thank you, Michael.
And all of you. आप सब लोगों को ये पीरियड जो हॉलीडेज़ का है, मेरी क्रिसमस है, इनकी जूश हॉलीडे हैं, अपने मुस्लिम फ्रेंड्स की भी हॉलीडेज़ हैं, ये पीरियड के अंदर हम आपको और आपके परिवार को बस हैप्पीनेस विश करते हैं, और ये आने वाले साल के अंदर भी हम आपको रिक्वेस्ट करते हैं कि आप उसको रिजोल्यूशन कीजिए कि ये कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव इमिग्रेशन बिल पास हो जाए तो सबका भला हो जाए. यही दुआ हम ऊपर वाले से करते हैं, और हमें पूरी उम्मीद है कि आपका ये कार्य पूरा होगा इस साल में 2013 के अंदर. न्यू ईयर विल ब्रिंग देम लॉट ऑफ हैप्पीनेस, कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव इमिग्रेशन रिफॉर्म, द इकोनॉमी विल बी बेटर, थिंग्स विल बी बेटर, दोज पीपल आर नॉट एम्प्लॉयड एंड देयर बी मोर जॉब्स अवेलेबल. प्रे गॉड.
Exactly. From your mouth to God's ears.
Okay,
may it happen for us.
Right.
So getting back to the I-94, Michael, you pointed out that there are some changes that are happening, and this is sort of a new initiative by CBP, Customs and Border Protection, to eliminate the I-94 arrival departure record. What is that document? That document is the white card that's in your passport when you enter. You go to the kiosk, the Customs and Border Protection officer will say to you, what are you coming to do? Hopefully the answer that you give will be in accordance with the type of visa stamp that's in your passport, and you'll get a little white card. That card is going to be eliminated. So what that does is it presents some interesting issues, doesn't it, Michael?
It does. That's a question that I had, that people used to get a stamp which shows authorized stay. Now, tell me that instead of that separate white card, will there be a stamp on the passport, arrival stamp, and will it say valid until when?
It's a great question, Michael. In fact, what I read about just recently, the Customs and Border Protection answered questions that were put forth to them by the American Immigration Lawyers Association, and in that release that they put out, which is like a Q&A, it's a stakeholders Q&A. What they did is they talked about the new methodology. And what that new methodology is going to be is that they will be given a stamp on the passport to show an entry, similar to the type of entry that an individual receives if they're, let's say, coming in from Canada.
Would that have a validity period also? Or no?
Well, yeah, they're going to have a validity period that will be stamped on the passport, and that validity period, of course, should be in accordance with the visa type that you have. Now, bear in mind, of course, that reciprocity will govern. So if you have a visa that, let's say, has a shorter duration, you may still be given an extended period of time. So they may not coordinate.
Does this rule apply to all types of visas, H1, L1, B2, F1s, or only visitors?
Well, no, it looks like it's going to be all individuals who are entering the United States.
So the H1-B guy that needs the social security number, driver's license,
It's a great question, Michael. How's he going to do it? How is he going to get that document that he needs to show to the DMV? How's he going to get that document that he needs to show to the Social Security Administration? The answer is that Customs and Border Protection will be generating an I-94 if the individual wants it or needs it, because most of the people who are entering, think about it, are visitors, and the visitors don't really need it because they're not out there going to DMV and they're not out there going to SSA, Social Security Administration. They don't really have a need for it.
They may need
but the people who do,
David, they may need, let's say they want to apply for extension.
Right, that's when they might
Or
need it.
change of status.
Correct, exactly.
They would still need some proof.
Correct.
But why can't they make a photocopy of that stamp on the passport, and that's no good?
No, that's not what they're doing. What CBP is proposing is that you will be given a number, and that number will be put into your passport, and then what you're going to be able to do is you'll be able to go online, to put that number in online, and you'll be able to generate an I-94 from an online system. Now, I don't think that that has been developed yet, but that's what their plan is, because they do realize that people do have a need for this I-94 document, okay, and they're going to have to show it, because otherwise they're going to have to change everything dramatically very quickly.
They say that it will also be in the system. That means if they have the number, can the motor vehicle department access that and check it, or no?
That is not my understanding at this point in time. What I understand at this point in time is that that document, that number is put in by the individual. They get that number out of their passport, they put it in, and then they're able to generate the I-94 document and then show that to the various administrative agencies. So that seems to be the plan. Now, what's interesting, and we've talked about this in our prior programs, Michael, is that what is proposed versus what actually happens oftentimes are two different things. So this is what they're talking about right now, but we haven't actually seen it happen.
We'll see. Ke sara sara.
Exactly.
Is it going to be bringing more work for the lawyers?
I don't know that it's necessarily going to be bringing more work for the lawyers, but I think that anytime you have changes...
No, I don't want that more work for
I
don't. Don't think that I'm trying to promote...
Well, here's the thing, Michael. You would think that an individual who enters the United States, who gets a stamp in their passport and can go on their way, that would not generate work for lawyers. But I mean, I can tell you that oftentimes, and it happened just this week, where I received a call from a client who had an E2 stamp in their passport, and then what happened was they came in and the officer saw a B1 in the passport and gave him a B1 and not the E2. So we had to send them back to the port of entry, which they're allowed to do, to have that document revised and corrected, which is something that happens. So I think that what's going to happen here is conceivably these documents, which can be accessed online, may be entered improperly, and when they generate these documents, we'll find that we may have to help them to try to correct this information either at the port of entry or by working with CBP.
So what happens if the person loses the passport?
Well, that's a very good question, because then that number only resides, I guess, in the passport.
He doesn't have the number.
So probably what we're going to be doing is encouraging our clients immediately, as soon as they get off the plane and get through the kiosk, is to make a copy and to send it to our office so we can put it in their files, so we too have a copy of that number so that we can access that information in the event that we need to do that.
Very good. Now let's go to item number 2, which is reminding them of the registration of the
Selective Service.
So let's
and Michael, first of all, maybe we want to tell the viewing audience what is Selective Service. Okay. Selective Service is required in the United States for anyone who's 18 years of age or older. As soon as you turn 18, whether you are a any male,
I think 18 under 26 or 25, something like that.
Yeah, 18 to 25, that's correct.
Yes.
So as soon as you turn 18 years old, you have to go to the post office and you have to register for Selective Service.
If you're over 25,
you don't have to.
You don't have to.
Right, exactly.
But if you enter the U.S. as an immigrant, you are 18
before
25, you must do that. So what's the problem if they don't do it?
Well, the problem is, unfortunately, if an individual later on applies for naturalization, there's a question on the naturalization form that says, what is your Selective Service information? Did you file for Selective Service? And if you didn't file for Selective Service as required by law, you could potentially be jeopardizing your naturalization
Some people don't do that. Why they don't do it? Do they have to serve in the militaries, the defense? What is Selective Service? What is it?
Well, Selective Service is essentially the draft, which hasn't really happened in the United States in many, many years, I mean, since the 60s. So what it is it's the government's ability to know who is available in the event that there is a draft. So it is the responsibility of anyone who's more than 18 years of age.
So the good piece of advice is don't be worried about, being forced for a draft. Just do it. If you are over 18, under 25, go ahead and register it so that when you apply for citizenship, you won't have that problem.
Right, don't jeopardize future immigration benefits as a result of your inability to file. Now, you may not want to file because you're afraid that information that you give to the government may be used to possibly root you out or remove you from the United States, but that's not what this database is about. This information is strictly for the Selective Service and nothing else. Michael, the next issue I think we want to talk about is amended H1-B petitions. And this is something that happens a lot. We get a lot of calls about it, is if an individual moves from one place to another, H1s, right? And you know what? It's December now, and we're starting to get calls about the April 1st filing dates for H1Bs. Believe it or not, just this week, we received 4 calls about H1Bs. And one of the calls we received was from an individual who was asking about a small company. Her husband wants to apply for an H1B for April 1st, and she's saying, well, it's a very small company, there are only 3 employees, and the company's only making $100,000 a year, it's not a tremendous amount of money, what are his chances? And of course, we never know what the chances are. The chances are that it's 50-50, and for us to say anything other than 50-50 is really not proper. So the first question is, well, is that going to be an easy case? And of course, there's no guarantee.
I'd say no case is easy. No case is easy.
No case is easy the way it used to be.
Yeah,
right?
It used to be, because now we see problems coming sometimes even on simple, straightforward cases. This document, that document is missing, explain this, explain that.
Right.
But another question on that is this, that when a employer, the person is working on H1 with an employer company, and when they file the H1B, the LCA mentioned about the place of work.
Correct.
That's New York, for example.
Correct.
Now the employer is sending him to Chicago, get a new LCA.
Right.
Many of they think that there's no, I don't have, just get a new LCA. They must do that for sure. But then I don't have to necessarily file another amended petition with immigration to go on record that I have now changed the place of employment. And my recollection is there's still no very clear guideline, but the advice always is a good idea to do, to file an amended petition which will have much lesser fee and not the all other fees, fraud fee and all that, and go on record. It's an immigration file, because I remember once in California, the ICE people went in. They arrested a number of Indian guys who were working there. They had a valid H1, but they were not authorized to work in that location. So they were arrested, and then later on, and after 3-4 days, they were let go. But the problem is there. Anybody comes in, they want to check the records, is there in the immigration own record, they have it, that change is there, LCI.
Right.
So there's a good advice is to go and do that.
Right. The best advice, obviously, is to go ahead and amend. The question is, if you have an individual who's going to another place, a third-party site, then, of course, you have what's called the short-term exemption. So if they're going for less than 30 days, then it's probably not a big deal. You don't have to worry about amending. If they're going for more than that, then potentially there's an issue about third-party sites.
They must have an LCA, new LCA for sure.
Not only do they have to have the new LCA, Michael, but the new LCA has to be posted at that third-party site. And if the third-party site is not allowing you to post, then there could potentially be a violation, especially now with the strict scrutiny that's being given by the Department of Labor and by the FDNS with regard to these H1Bs. So you have to be really, really careful to make sure. Now, the other thing, Michael, that you point out is, why do you want to amend? Well, of course you want to amend because when you go back to India for your stamping, that's why you want to have that information ticked and tied out, because the consulate may potentially ask about that information.
David, I know you have more to talk about, but we are running out of time. It's the end of the program. It goes like fast, like this.
It does. It's amazing.
We should be
Time
doing 1 hour
flies when you're
programs and
having
not
fun.
15 minutes.
Right.
Okay, thank you very much, David, for being
Let's
with us
again
today.
wish our viewers a very, very happy holiday. We trust everyone has a very nice holiday. Spend it with your families. Enjoy yourselves. And we look forward to enjoying a happy new year with you all.
And ditto from me too. And thank you very much, David, for being with us. Thank all of you for watching the program. And we will again come on this program next Saturday and Sunday. Keep watching us. Thank you very much and goodbye.